Live from Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital, this is Lunchtime Politics, where we unpack some of your biggest stories. I am Kelly Egiga. The race to 2027 just got a lot more interesting. In a ruling that could reshape Nigeria's political calculations, the Court of Appeal has restored the ADC and 4 other political parties to the INEC register, breathing new life into opposition politics and raising fresh questions about the electoral contest ahead. But what does this truly mean for the position for INEC and the battle for power in 2027? This is Lunchtime Politics. We are unpacking the possible implications of this major legal victory. But first, let's walk you through our radar this hour. APC National Chairman says the party will win the Osun State gubernatorial elections by August 15. And the government blows past its 2024 borrowing target, raising a staggering 4.79 trillion naira, more than originally planned. Many thanks indeed for joining us here on the program. I am Kelly Egiga. Well, we are live here in Lagos, Nigeria, but we are also live in the nation's capital in just a moment, where we are tracking the House of Reps ad hoc committee, which is probing the controversial fake DG and fake agency. We'll bring you up to speed. Remember, the police, the House of Reps had ordered or directed the IGP, that's Olatunji Disu, to produce Prince Adeyemi Martin in 48 hours by 12 noon today. It's just about 2 minutes past 12. We have our eyes and our ears right there at the House of Representatives, which is going to be broadcast live, this particular hearing, and we'll see whether or not the IGP, Mr. Disu, has indeed produced Prince Martin Adeyemi for questioning at the House of Reps. Well, let's walk you through our top stories this hour, where we are following for you. The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Professor Nentawe Yugwada, has expressed confidence that the party will win in the August 15 governorship elections in Osun State. He was speaking on our sister program, the Morning Brief. Professor Yugwada affirmed that nothing will stop the party from winning the governorship elections. He was speaking rather on Politics Today, on our flagship political program yesterday. In the meantime, the federal government has blown past its 2024 borrowing target, raising a staggering 4.79 trillion naira, more than originally planned by FG. According to the latest budget implementation reports from the Budget Office, new borrowing soared to 12.62 trillion naira, completely eclipsing the initial budget of 7.83 trillion naira. Now, officials are pointing to a massive 4.90 trillion naira revenue shortfall as the driving force behind the spike. Total revenue landed at 20.98 trillion naira against a projected 25.88 trillion naira, pushing the fiscal deficit to a staggering 13.51 trillion naira. All right, so let's go to that story now that has gotten the attention of many Nigerians, especially those in the position. The Court of Appeal, Abuja, has vacated the judgment that directed the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to deregister the African Democratic Congress, ADC, and 4 other political parties accused of failing to meet constitutional requirements. In a unanimous decision by a 3-member panel of justices, the appellate court held that the judge and the order which the Federal High Court issued the electoral body on June 15th amounted to a nullity. In its lead judgments read by Justice Abba Mohammed, the appellate court held that the High Court wrongly assumed jurisdiction and made an order on an incompetent suit that was filed by a non-juristic entity. Now, according to the court, there was no valid suit that could have warranted the consequential order that directed INEC to derecognize the parties. It also noted that the trial court failed to properly evaluate evidence placed before it, stressing that proof that the parties won various seats in previous elections was ignored. And consequently, the court held that all the affected parties remained duly registered. Now, aside from the ADC, other parties whose registration the appellate court restored are the Action People's Party, APP, Action Alliance, Accord Party, and the Zenith Labour Party. All right. So let's unpack all of this this hour with a senior advocate of Nigeria who joins us live now virtually on the program from Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. Mr. Kayode Adeluola joins us live on the program. SCN, thank you indeed for agreeing to talk to us here on the program. It's a unanimous decision, SCN, by the three-member appellate panel led by Justice Abba Mohammed, unanimously clearing the ADC, Action People's Party, Action Alliance, and Zenith Labour Party to participate in the upcoming elections. I wonder perhaps just how you're reading and receiving this news.
Thank you very much for inviting me to speak on this. I receive this news as one that tells us that indeed and in truth our judiciary can be relied upon to dispense justice, and when any judiciary has been less than noble in its activity, the appellate court will do what is needful. The reports we have received, the decision of the Court of Appeal simply puts paid to the attempt by persons who put themselves together, not necessarily forming a juristic personality. Let's say that the former federal legislators that went before the courts of the high courts to get an order saying that 5 political parties should not be allowed to participate in the elections coming up in 2027. And let us look at that. The implication of that would have been serious. That would have meant that we would not have a court party, which I think is the platform upon which the governor of Osun State will be contesting. Would also not have ADC contesting, the platform upon which Alhaji Atiku Abubakar will be contesting. And so, without, realizing that we are beginning to people who should participate in elections to give us a robust election to, assist the build-up of our democratic activities to a point where we'll be able to say that indeed and it should be robust. Not only that, we find that the decision simply says also that the judge, Justice Peter Lifu of the Federal High Court, gave orders when indeed he had been ordered to stay further proceedings. Not only that, there was evidence before him to say that the political parties, what the defendants, had in fact fulfilled the conditions which will prevent any from the registry that is they had previously won elections in different elections before now. So what was the basis upon which he made this ruling, gave this judgment? And that is what also said that, the Supreme Court had said in the past, that judges who fail to comply with orders of Superior Courts also in themselves are not fit to be on the bench.
Yes, and that perhaps, SN, leads me to my next question, because the court described the action as a form of judicial impertinence, noting that the Supreme Court had previously held that a judge who acts in such a manner is unfit for the bench. In fact, the other terms, very strong terms that have been used to describe the conduct of Justice Peter Lifu and that judgment, that it amounts to, quote, judicial rascality. So I wonder perhaps, do you agree with those who are insisting that Justice Lifu perhaps should face an investigation or probe?
If an act of a judge is described as judicial impertinence, if the conduct of a judge is described to amount to judicial rascality, would you be happy to take your case before him? So you see, we must begin to say very boldly that we need to sanitize all aspects of our life as a nation. Judiciary has come under a lot of criticism by people who go before them to seek justice. And here we have a judge who has been described as having acted in a manner described as judicial impertinence. Should this simply be a judgment of the Court of Appeal and we all just go home? Or how does anyone feel who goes before Justice Peter Lifu after having been described in those strong terms? I mean, the answer is in the open, and we all know what it should be. If the Judicial Council does not do anything about it, there'll be enough reason to ask ourselves. We must decide. In a minute, sir. We must decide. Persons who want to be judges must not be only incorruptible, they must be above board. They must keep justice to the satisfaction of the people of the society. Thank you.
Yes. Perhaps two questions in one. There are those who are questioning why it was really very swift to perhaps use the hammer on Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mike Ozekome, and there's been that delay in issuing same on Justice Peter Lifu. The second question would be, give us a sense of, what it means to be a justice. Could that judgment could it have been delivered under duress?
If a judge is capable of being made to deliver judgments under duress, then he's no longer in control. I make no pretense at all that I know that many of our judicial officers are often under intense pressure from politicians, from money bags, from family, from communities, from my colleagues, from the larger society, and believe me, it is not easy to bear this pressure. It is not easy at all. That is why those who want to become judges must not only become judges on the day they are appointed, they must almost, in a manner of speaking, become recluse. I remember people said of the late Justice J.I.C. Taylor that when he became a judge, he stopped attending functions and you just couldn't approach him. That is the nature of the life of a judge. You cannot be a judge and be seen in such compromising association with members of the public. It's difficult. I know persons who in the past also have been known to say to members of the family, even in open court, that I hear that you came to my house to do this or that in an attempt to make me do things for the benefit of people who are praying before me. Being a judge is a very tasking job. One, being a judge is an honorable enterprise, and that is why we call them honorable justice, and we bow before them and call them my lord. They are not ordinary people. In Yoruba parlance, we call them Orisha. So when you are exalted to that level,
and there's no sight of the IGP, there's no sight of Mr. Adeyemi. Even the committee, who were also expected to commence that sitting at 12, he says there's no sight of either of the members of the committee, the summoned IGP, and Mr. Adeyemi. SAN, I wonder what you make of this, because this, again, for me, and I believe many Nigerians, is a national embarrassment. So I wonder perhaps what you think could be playing at the House of Reps.
I just said to you earlier that we need to address issues in our country. You talk about the legislature, you talk about the judiciary a whole lot, because when we hear judgments, we analyze them even when we're not even legally minded. We criticize the executive, but not often do we speak about the legislature. The committee that should actually receive the IG and Mr. Adeyemi is not even sitting. So why should the IG be there? The IG is only a short distance away from the National Assembly. The moment he hears that the committee is sitting, he can, with his siren, drive to the National Assembly with the man he's supposed to produce before them. But if they are not sitting, Why should he bother himself? You see, we must take things seriously in our country. And until when we begin to do so, we're not supposed to be a joke. People who present themselves for electoral office must realize that electoral office is a serious business. You cannot be a member of the House of Representatives and decide that, a sitting which should commence at 12 can commence at 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. That's not the way it's done. That's not the way it's done. So we as citizens must also begin to call those whom we have elected to the assemblies to order. We do not hear your voice. You do not attend plenary. We do not see you sit on the committees. When you sit on the committee, you don't attend. When you are members of a committee, and until when we as citizens begin to take our destiny in our own hands, we shall continue to slide down this slippery slope. Let's not keep pointing our fingers and fingers. It is our responsibility as citizens. If they fail to sit today, we should ask those who should have sat in that committee where they were.
Perhaps it's a fine place to leave it here. I mean, I like the fact that you've had to call on Nigerians to also wake up and, take ownership of their country as well. But again, that's a big story this hour we're following. It's supposed to be a live hearing right there at the House of Reps, where we understand the IGP has been summoned, and then he's not only summoned, he's been summoned to also appear with Mr. Adeni, the fake DG and fake agency, the presidential, PFIPC. We'll have to get used to that name now, even though it looks like a big scandal and a national embarrassment to the nation. But we must leave it here. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Kayode Adeluola, thank you indeed for your time and your perspectives right here on the program this hour.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, that does it for us here on this hour of Lunchtime Politics. Thanks indeed for watching. On behalf of the production team and everyone here, I am Kelly Egiga, and you have just been served on Lunchtime Politics. Bye now.